Good morning, Idlewild, and welcome to Gate City. Okay, there's nobody here. I wish I was able to be with you in person this morning to be able to express this to you myself. But a few weeks ago, Keith Morehart had contacted me and asked me if I would be willing to prepare a video to express to you my feelings toward you and your sacrifice, your investment in my life and ministry through your Christian Education Scholarship Fund. And I'd actually answered that with a couple of different thoughts. And just first of all, to give you some background, in 1986, my family and I came to Idlewild when I was in the 5th grade. And early on, made a lot of friends. There were a lot of kids that were my age. But then in 7th grade, I got promoted into the youth ministry. And God really blessed that youth ministry. And it was a pivotal series of years in my life as God used that to really lay a foundation for what He was going to be doing in my life and in my heart in high school. It was in high school that God put a burden and a call on my life to serve Him in vocational Christian ministry. And I knew once I had that calling on my life, I needed to get prepared for what God wanted me to do. And after some investigation, had settled on Gardner Webb. And I remember one night, it was a regularly scheduled visitation night. I had already gone out visiting, had come back to the church, and I was in the youth minister's office. And we were talking, and on his adding machine was the sum total of 4 years' worth of room, tuition, and board at Gardner Webb. A few minutes later, my dad came into the office, and he saw that number. Now, my family didn't miss any meals, to be sure, but the simple truth is that we were never financially able to make any significant savings to be able to prepare for college. And I remember that night my dad distinctly saying, well, if God's in this, He'll take care of it. Well, one of the ways that God took care of it was through the Christian Education Scholarship Fund at Idlewild. And certainly that did not pay for all of the college expense, but in truth, what it did do was to make what was nearly impossible an actual reality. And from the depths of my heart, I am and I will always be grateful to you for your sacrifice, for your generosity, and for your faithful investment, not only in my life, but in the lives of a number of others who are now serving the Lord in ministry. The other way I would answer about the significance of your sacrifice is this way. After 4 years of college and 3 years of seminary, began then at that point to pastor, and for just shy of 10 years pastored at Eastway Baptist in Charlotte. 2 years ago, this past October, however, God called us here to serve Him in Greensboro at Gate City Baptist Church. And I guess it was back sometime late spring, early summer. There was an individual that came here for the very first time. He's 75 years old. His name is Donnie. Strangely enough, he was invited here by a man in Greensboro who owns a topless car wash, of all things. And I think Mark Leeser, that's why his car is so clean when he comes back from business in Greensboro, but I'll have to get back to you on that. Anyway, Donnie shows up here on a Sunday for the first time. And after that, I was able to have a conversation with him one day in my office. And as he began to talk, he began to cry and began to weep and was describing how for literally decades he had been in the process of making a mess of his life. All sorts of terrible decisions, consequential decisions. And in his brokenness, I was able quite simply just to share with him the gospel and what Christ wanted to do in his life, God's plans for him for eternity. And in short, on that day in my office, he trusted Christ as the Savior of his heart and the Lord of his life. Simply stated, without the gracious help afforded me by Idlewild's commitment to help train ministers, my education would have been nearly impossible. Without that education, I believe that it would have been nearly impossible for me to serve as a pastor anywhere. And had I never pastored, I would have never met a man like Donnie and so many others that one day you will be able to see in heaven. And when you see him and when you meet him for the first time in heaven, you can take comfort and you can be encouraged by the fact that your investment financially in preparing ministers for service, well, that investment is part of the reason that he is there. From the depths of my heart, again, thank you for your investment in my life, in my ministry, and in the lives and ministry of so many others. I pray God's continued blessings on you, and pray, quite frankly, that you might continue to give so that others might be prepared. Thank you.